Gentry, you want to pray us in?
Oh, we're just hopping straight in.
We're just hopping right in, coming in hot.
All right. Lord, I thank you for this day. I thank you for getting us all here safe. I pray that we could just have some good discussion and dive deeper into you and into the outdoors. Amen.
Amen. All right. I can jump right in, but anybody have any cool happenings that happened lately?
Yeah. This morning, extra turkey tags went on sale in North Dakota, and their website crashed. And so...
Because of you?
Well, I was one of the people trying to buy a license, so I'm sure it didn't help. And so they are doing it tomorrow.
Oh. Yeah, they pushed it. It was 8 a.m. They pushed it back to noon, and then at noon it did the same thing. So then they pushed it to 8 a.m. tomorrow. I don't know if it's website traffic. I can't imagine that it would be because there's not that many tags. Like,
it's probably,
maybe there's a ton of people going in, but they only give out what is it? I don't even remember what 8,000 tags for the whole state or something. So it's not like a number that you would think that the website can't handle, but I really don't know. So I don't know if it was something with their actual just their licensing, specific to whatever the code was for that specific license, that turkey license, because it would show up and I click on it and then I got all the way to click proceed checkout and then I hit that and it was gone. And then after that, it wouldn't work at all.
Yeah, because I didn't even make it that far.
And then after that, you anytime you would try to log into the Game and Fish website at all, it crashed for probably 10 minutes.
And then the licensing site.
Just your login. Yeah, you click my account and you put in your name and date of birth and it would shut down.
Dang.
And so I called the office because turkeys are a big deal to me. And I was just like, hey, what is going on? And the lady was super nice. She was just like, well, we don't really know. We're working on it as we speak. Because, I'm impatient. This was 8:03 when I called. So, as soon as I noticed there was a problem, I was like, I better get on a list of some kind if I can. But anyway, yeah, she was super nice and was like, we're working on it right now. And if it doesn't work, then we're just going to push it back and should get notified some form or another. And they just put a banner up on the homepage of the website that said, this is when we're going to redo it essentially. Yeah. So hopefully tomorrow they get it all sorted.
Yeah, it's computers, IT, whatever.
Yeah,
if you've been around it very much,
it's gonna break. It's just a matter of when. And I will say I really, really appreciate our Game and Fish and all the things that they do for managing the state. I do kind of think it's a bummer that 100% of the licensing is now online. Kind of for that reason, remember back in the day, you just go into a gas station and it took forever, but it was kind of like the thing you did. You got your general game certificate, signed it right there. You even my waterfowl stamp right there, it was everything.
Yeah. It wasn't that long ago either. Cause when I went to college, you could still buy your archery tags over the counter. I would just go to Walmart and buy the archery tag. And then when I came back from college, you couldn't do it anymore because I walked into Walmart and it was middle of archery season because I was gone and I was going to hunt the next morning or whatever. And they were like, yeah, we don't do that here. Because I'm assuming whoever was working back there probably wasn't working back there 2 years ago or whatever before it had changed. And they were kind of confused. And so, I had to order it and then... Or I don't. That year I might have went into the Game and Fish office and picked it up because I think you can still get it actually over the counter at their office. But other than that, it's online.
Thank you for saying that. Sorry, Game and Fish. You can buy it over the counter at one place, or I suppose any district office.
I would assume so. I don't know if that goes for all tags, or if it's just because a lot of them's lottery.
True.
So. I don't know if you can if you are successful in the lottery, if you just go there before it shows up at your door and pick it up. You probably still have to wait for that to come in the mail.
I think if you lose your tag, you got to go in.
Yeah, I think you can go in and get a replacement. But
I don't know anybody who would do that though.
I would do that. If I lost my tag, I would be at that Game and Fish office.
No, I'm saying who has done that.
I haven't actually lost a tag. But sound like a story was coming.
Yeah, it was brewing. Anyhow, back to the sermon.
Maybe.
Wait. We had something
you
happen this weekend. No.
Oh yeah.
I didn't listen to it.
Yeah.
We went fishing on Skakawea and got checked by some game wardens, and my dad had a moment and a half.
I had a senior moment.
It was sad to watch. So we're whatever. He had just pulled a northern off a tip up, and he's getting it unhooked, and these game wardens roll up, and they were in a side by side on some tracks, and they got out, and I popped out of the tent, and we started talking or whatever, and they went inside the house, checked their bait, and then they checked how many lines we had in the water or whatever, and we were all good there. And then asked for the licenses, and for mine, instead of just carrying out a paper copy, I have a screenshot, and I just put it in a certain folder in my phone. So every time I get checked, it's just newest one in there. So I had that up, and they checked it in like 20 seconds. And keep in mind, we drove on the ice. We drove the truck on the ice because there was like 2 feet. And my dad, he's like, he checks his pockets, he checks his wallet, and then he goes, he looks at the game and he goes,
I didn't have my wallet.
He goes, I always carry my my license on me, but I left it in the truck. And I just looked at him, and then I turned around, and the truck's 10 yards away, and he goes, well, now I got to pull it up online. And he stands there, and he's typing in his info in the Game and Fish, and it's taking like 20 minutes, or it took like 5 minutes to load because we're
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, we were just on a lake. And he finally gets it up, and then whatever, they check it, he was good. And then he drives, and then they drive away. And like 2 minutes later, he looks at me, and he's like, my truck's right here. And I was like, yup. And he's like, my license is in there. I was like, yup. He's like, I could have just grabbed it. I was like, uh-huh. He's like, I didn't know I drove on the ice. I was like, are you kidding me?
I knew I drove on the ice. Anyways.
You're just so excited to fish, you blacked out.
Couldn't connect.
But
and I caught a fish. It quite literally, I could have been more flustered because it was a pike. I get it out of the hole, and of course it bites me off. And I swipe the thing out of the hole, and I look over, and I'm like, and the hook's hanging out of its mouth, and I don't want to call this fish. It's like a hammer handle. It's tiny. So I'm like, I gotta take care of this, okay, guys. So I ran inside. I didn't have my tools there. It was
maybe some of that slime from the pike, had some kind of adverse effect on your mental capacity at that time because
that's why I only target walleyes.
Your skin is probably not used to that.
Could be
that northern pike,
probably
feeling and the texture and
it's like a foreign object. Just never seen it before.
All right,
they probably smell
so
different.
For the record, you wrecked the cadence of the show because I was going to tell that story in part of this. I was going to paint myself in a little positive light than what
there was nothing positive about that situation. It was just funny.
All right, so the theme for today, we're going to call it temptation, right? And as you'll see, so this isn't anybody in this room. I think most of the stories we've told here, pretty much everyone have been law-abiding fellas. And there's
definitely something illegal about putting a pike in your bathtub.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the law, but to the.
Come on.
Comment.
We're already 9 minutes in. All right. So this story,
wow.
if you want some,
timely today.
Yeah. If you want some good reading, speaking of the Game and Fish website, they have this Behind the Badge series, and it's all these stories about different things that our state's game wardens run into. And this one's entitled Suspicious Behavior. I'm going to kind of skip the first paragraph, but Wentz Lake in Logan County, and this is on my list of lakes to go fishing because it's...
You said Wentz Lake?
Wentz Lake.
W-E-N-T-Z.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't know if you needed to spell it. Anyways.
Because the 12 people listening are going to take our fishing spot.
Yeah.
That
I've never been there. I've never fished this lake, but there's supposed to be a ton of walleye in this lake. Like they net and...
It's also like...
Yeah, and like take adult fish out of this. Anyways, so I'm pretty sure this is a couple years ago when the Game and Fish did a story on him. None of this matters. So this wintertime.
Thank you for realizing.
Yeah. So it's wintertime, and this game warden's going out, and he's checking anglers. So while most of the anglers were on the south side of the lake, there was one lone angler on the northwest corner of the lake. When I contacted the particular angler, who I'll refer to as Don, I immediately recognized him from previous contacts. I also came to understand why he was fishing away from the crowd. On the north side of his Suburban were 8 holes drilled in the ice, each with a baited fishing line. North Dakota law only allows an angler to fish with 4 lines while ice fishing. After checking Don's fishing license and the few walleyes he had, I inquired why he was using the extra lines. In a rather blunt manner, he informed me 4 of the lines belonged to his girlfriend, who had run into Napoleon about 20 minutes away to use the restroom and would be returning shortly. Classy fellow, blaming on lady.
All right. Can I pause real quick?
Yeah.
It states in there specifically that you're allowed 4 lines when ice fishing. It's 2 lines in open water, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep.
I was just checking.
No, you're good. I informed him I could wait for his girlfriend to return so I could talk to her. While we waited, I glanced in his Suburban where I noticed the stock of a rifle sticking out from under a blanket in the front passenger seat. Based on my prior contact with Don, I knew he was a convicted felon and could not possess a firearm. When I asked Don about the rifle, he hung his head, acknowledged he could not have the rifle. After notifying the local sheriff's department for assistance, Don looked at me, said his girlfriend was in fact not fishing with him that day, and all 8 fishing poles were his. A short time later, one of the sheriff's deputies arrived, and after conferring with Don's probation officer, we searched the Suburban. In addition to the rifle, we also found narcotics and a vial of fake urine used to fool a drug test. Ultimately, Don was cited for fishing with extra lines and arrested for being a felon in possession of a firearm. So this is kind of an egregious story, but why am I reading this all to you other than it calls out a lot of good stuff.
Why was I gestured at in that?
Well, no, about the good stuff about the 2 lines, right? You know, that's important. Important to know the laws, right? And I guess I love to fish, and I'm not going to fault anybody for doing this, but I don't think it's ever occurred to me to bring a rifle while it's ice fishing. I don't know when that happened, but
it has occurred to me once.
It's definitely crossed my mind.
And what I would say is that we've considered doing like a cast and blast on some areas where like we fish a lake in an area where we know there's coyotes around.
Mm-hmm.
We've never actually done it, but we've thrown around the idea, going out and fishing sunrise or coyote hunting sunrise and then going out to the lake, whichever, vice versa, and catching some fish. But other than that, I don't really have any reasons as to why you would bring a rifle either.
I've thrown around that idea too, and I don't know if I've lamented this, but for those of you who fish Lake Audubon, it's a national wildlife refuge. There's a stupid amount of coyotes out there. Every time I'm out there, it's like, because I asked actually, because it's a federal refuge, so you have to use steel shot, right? But you can deer hunt after.
You can do any sort of hunt.
So there's during the deer season you can hunt there, and then you can upland hunt after the deer season, but it has to be steel shot.
Sure.
And so I asked, well, can I hunt coyotes? And they're like, nope, you can't. Anyways, I'm going to get to my sermon here in a sec. All right.
Sermon.
Do you know where your truck is?
No. I could complain about that too. So the back to the story. I would assume if you talk to this gentleman, how do you get to that point where you're breaking multiple laws? And in my experience, when you're making bad decisions in life, it's just one bad decision after another, and it compounds itself, right? And which is why it's so important that you and the faith side of this, the faith angle, is that you recognize when you're being tempted to do something that you shouldn't do, right? Like fishing one extra line, maybe not that big of a deal, but where do you draw the line? Then is it, well, maybe I'll keep 6 walleye instead of my limit of 5. Maybe I'll fish without a license, or where do you draw the line, right? And I think it's really important to like Jesus said, let your yes be yes, let your no be no. Follow follow do the right thing and follow the laws of the land that you're in, and your life will be a lot better. This is where I was going to share the story that we had this weekend.
Well, luckily I already told you in a more truthful view.
Because when you have the game warden stops you and you're in the right, you don't have anything to be worried about. It's like, you're talking to them, hey, what's the fishing like here? Did you talk to anybody? What do they do? Versus
for the record, they told us the fishing was terrible where we were at, so I don't know why we were there.
We caught fish.
We caught what did we catch?
Cisco.
I was gonna say goldeneye. We caught one Cisco, one borderline keeper walleye, and a pike,
and a perch.
That's better than we did on our last excursion.
And a perch that shouldn't have been kept either, but it died on a tip up because it didn't set it off.
It was a perch.
I will say maybe it's just me, and I don't have really a good reason for this because I haven't had any legal issues to speak of other than like a speeding ticket. It makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like even if I know that I have all my ducks in a row, like if I see the warden like pulling up or like just driving around the edge of the lake, like he's probably going to come out or whatever you're doing, I'm always just like, oh, I don't know why. Like and maybe that's just me. It's some anxiety thing. I don't know. It doesn't really bother me, but it's just one of those things where I always kind of feel that. And then I question in my head. I'm like, why am I like, I don't know what that is. Maybe that's just respect for law enforcement. I don't know.
And the funny thing about that day was we drove on straight from the boat ramp, and there was 2 game warden trucks parked like just off the boat ramp. So we knew they were all in this very close section of the lake. And there was 3 different vehicles that drove 2 different vehicles that drove us up to us that day before the wardens got there.
And there was every time 3 people out there total.
Interesting.
It was a social day.
Yeah, there was one guy who came out there. He needed water for his minnows. He needed water for his minnows because he keeps them in a cooler. And he didn't want to drill his own hole, so he thought he'd just like walk out.
He lived
and
out
ask
there.
The closest fisherman. Yeah.
So, quick question: how was he fishing with minnows if he didn't want to drill holes?
He wasn't. He lives like right off the boat ramp, but for some reason he said he only fishes Audubon.
Mm-hmm.
So he just had the minnows at his house, and he needed water for them.
And he didn't have water at his house?
I didn't ask questions.
I'm right there with you, man. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
Dude, I don't know. The guy was...
Well, I would assume they had rural water, right?
Maybe he was lonely, and he just wanted to socialize.
He was very socializing guy.
Mean, I refresh the water in my minnows every time I go out. I
dump that I completely understand. It's more the source or lack thereof of water that I'm curious.
And he took he took 2 5-gallon buckets full of water.
Guy was tough.
Like could have filled a fish tank with the amount of water he took. It was not like a minnow bucket full.
Hey, be nice to this guy. He gave us a hot tip somewhere. I'm not going to say where.
Audubon. There's many hot spots on that lake. There's so many hot spots on that lake. That lake's not a secret.
All right. Can I get back? So, Briar, back to what you were saying. That's obviously why, because the moment they stopped, in addition to the fish, I reached in my bibs and I was like, I don't have my wallet. And then I'm like, oh man,
That is one nice thing about the online, everything being shifted online, is that you have that, as long as you have phone service, you have that accessibility. Or like if you have like a Zolio or something, even if you don't have phone service, you can still get a hold of that, on the website.
What's a Zolio?
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Is it like a
I've never actually used one, so I may be getting this wrong, but my understanding is it's essentially like a Garmin in the sense that it's like a satellite messaging device. And I think depending on the plans that you have, you can actually have it so it like uses the satellite signal to create like a Wi-Fi hotspot, and then you can use your phone from there,
so
and
like
essentially turns it into a... Well, yes, but the Garmin inReaches are limited to like messaging and like SOS calls and location tracking. I don't think you can use them, at least the one that I have. I'm not aware of any way to use it as like a Wi-Fi hotspot where I can like surf the web on my phone. You know what I mean? I can use it for contact, but anything beyond that. I'm pretty sure with Zolio you can, though.
Really?
Either way, the point is all of this stuff is available. So even like as long as you've purchased the license, you can go print it on your phone as a PDF or file instantly, which is really handy. Although I think it can go too far, not to get too off track, but like Montana has gone to, with a number of species, they have e-tags where you don't actually even have a paper tag for the animal or a sticker. In Montana, it's just a sheet of paper, but the e-tags, like you digitally like purchase down or receive the tag as like a digital file within like their app, and then you can fill the tag digitally and you like put in the information about the animal. I've never actually filled a digital tag in Montana, an e-tag, but that to me raises some questions of like, I'm going to go out hunting, and as long as I have phone service, if I see an animal I want to shoot, I'm going to quick go buy my tag, and then shoot. Which you can't do it with certain things like bear hunting. You can't hunt within 24 hours of purchasing the tag, so it's accounted for in some ways. But like with deer hunting or turkey hunting, it raises some red flags for me.
Well, you could technically do the same in North Dakota with most species other than deer.
But you don't have the tag in hand. That's the issue.
I guess, yeah, but for any sort of small game, like, I guess you would still need the tag in hand. But
well, you wouldn't have a tag for those.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could just get
you
the
could
PDF
buy the
on
license.
Your phone as soon as you buy the license.
Yes.
Which, I guess you can buy those at any time of the year anyways.
I mean, it opens doors for people to push the boundaries no matter what. Anytime you increase convenience, you're generally going to increase the opportunities for people to take advantage of it. But yeah, I think I hope they stop where they're at when it comes to the digital stuff. To me, I love the tags that North Dakota has, the nice stickers that are heavy duty and they can stick even though they're wet or bloody or whatever. I like it. I don't want them to go. That's my point. I don't want them to go any further into the digital tagging licensing world.
Did you know our Game and Fish has an app? Like,
I did not.
Apparently, like, because the game warden was telling my dad about it. He's like, "Oh, do you have the app?" My dad was like, "Nope."
No.
He's like, "Huh? You should get the app." It like automatically signs you in, and I was like, apparently the way they talked about it, it was like new, like this year or last year.
Sure.
I assume it hasn't been around for more than a year.
Good to know.
One bit about the buying your tag out in the field. On this same behind the badge, there's another one about these waterfowl hunters. Really the same setup. This boyfriend, male and female, we'll say, were hunting, and the female went walking further away, and the guy came back, and he was talking to the game warden. Well, basically what happened is the lady didn't have a license, and she was real quick buying it on her phone, and then and they like left a gun out there, just in case they got checked, and so long story short, the guy, he came back and saw them going back to get this firearm because only one of them had a license. And he looked it up and he could see she purchased that day at that time. So he was like, no, because they were lying. And when it comes down to it, if you do, if you do some bonehead thing, you like me, you forget your license or whatever, just be honest. Right. I think the worst thing you can do is start lying or being a jerk. Right. I think that's really with any authority figure. If you're gonna lie to a police officer, if you're gonna lie to a pastor, if you're gonna lie to a teacher or whatever, it's not gonna go well. Right. Or if you're just honest, be an adult, we'll say, and own your mistake, it's gonna be better for you. So. The one scripture that I wanted to read is from James chapter 1, verses 14 through 15. And it kind of goes along the vein of how your bad decisions compound. So it's, but each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Then when desire is conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. And when you look at this, the road to a bad decision, kind of like that story we shared, is it's your life can be one compounding bad decision after another, and before you know it, you're in a place where you don't want to be, right? And conversely, you can turn that around. You're one decision away from doing the right thing, right? And you're compounding better decisions and doing good things. So, on the vein of getting back to temptations, there's, I'll just throw out little scenarios that I've probably been on the wrong side of this one in my lifetime. There's those gray areas. Like if you're walking a fence line to some ground that you have access to, but you have to walk over some other private ground. What do you do there? The whole idea of the right of way with a section line. Are you allowed to walk there or not? Right. The culling a fish, right? The whole concept of, well, I have a live well or wherever, and I have this fish that's alive, and I get my limit of fish, but then I catch one that's bigger. Do I throw away one of the smaller ones and keep the bigger one? Nah, that's breaking the law. So how do you guys have any, just kind of pose it to the group, like, how do you check yourself when you have those situations come up in your outdoor sporting adventures? You got anything?
Sorry, I'm just looking at so I got the Game and Fish app, and it's really nice until you press the buy and apply tab, and then it just takes you to the website in your browser. So
I wonder if
it's a work in progress.
I wonder if that could be what they got going on with the turkey tag, if the whole licensing is, I don't know.
Otherwise, it seems like a pretty great app.
Yeah.
That was my synopsis.
Can I ask you a quick question about something you said earlier? Mm-hmm. So, on the topic of culling fish, and maybe I misheard you, but you had said in the story about the game warden that you had caught the pike and you were holding it, and you were like, I don't want to cull this fish.
Yeah.
I'm confused as to why that would have been culling.
Sorry, that wouldn't be. So when you're supposed to release that fish immediately. That's not technically culling a fish, but if I'm sitting there and it's flopping around for 4 or 5 minutes on the ice while I'm trying to find my license and whatever, I'm probably going to kill that fish. You're right.
Okay.
I think the better word would have been kill the fish.
Kill
not
the fish.
Cull the fish.
Sure. No, I didn't mean to be picky. I don't know that. I don't know that much about the fishing regulations, and I'm aware of culling, but I wasn't sure if there's something I was missing.
No, you're right.
That. So that was why I asked.
Yeah, I was flabbergasted in the moment, and when I told that story. So
I got another story about game wardens and so I was not here for this, but obviously I heard about it through text or whatever, and I called them afterwards. Essentially, one of my buddies and another one of my friends were hunting. It was a goose field. They were just about at the end of their day. It was like 11 or something. So they were pretty much done. They were, I think, just picking stuff up. And game warden rolls out in the field, and they both, pull out they do the same thing I do with the folder and the screenshot. And they both pulled out their phones and took out their, license, PDF, whatever. And the game warden checked both of them. And to one of my friends, he goes, well, you don't have your duck stamp. And my friend went, what? And he goes, yeah, you bought everything else for waterfowl, but you don't have your duck stamp. And what happened was, my friend told me, and apparently the warden could see that was happened, is on the Game and Fish website. I don't know if you guys have gone there. At the start of the year, there's a purchase all from last year button or something. So you just buy obviously whatever you had the previous year, whether that's your fishing, your small game, whatever. And for whatever reason, it didn't. My buddy pressed that, paid for all his stuff, and that was in the summer. For whatever reason, it didn't include the federal duck stamp from the year before. I don't know if it's because it counted as a different thing every year. But yeah, that didn't get included, so he didn't have his duck stamp. And the warden let him off really easy because obviously that's on the federal level. I think he had a $25 ticket. And I think if there's one lesson you can pull from that, obviously double check everything before you go out, or make sure if there's something like that on your website or whatever, make sure you have all the stuff that you're planning on hunting for. But if you cooperate, it's gonna end up better for you no matter what. Obviously he is a minor, so that probably plays in favor for him. Usually, game wardens are a lot more lenient on the young guys. Sometimes they just don't know what they're doing, or sometimes it was a simple mistake.
Sometimes.
I've never been in trouble with a game warden or a cop, for a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I didn't get in trouble for that. There's nothing illegal done there.
It wasn't cops, it was SWAT, right?
Yeah, it was SWAT.
It was not SWAT. It was not the SWAT
Special
team.
ops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, cooperate always. They will always be more lenient on you if you cooperate on the first time, if you don't lie. Like, obviously, my buddy, after, he looked at his license himself, and obviously there's nothing to hide there. You can't really lie your way out of that one. But, yeah, he told it to the warden as, like, what his view of it was, how it happened for him. And the warden was obviously very understanding. And talking afterwards with my buddy, he was, like, super thankful that, obviously, he didn't get his stuff revoked for the rest of the season or the coming years, because once again that's on a federal level of offense. So he got off really easy with that. But cooperate
and
be truthful.
Yeah, and respectful too.
Yeah,
I would assume you guys were like that. But if you're,
I wasn't there. It was literally just those two.
Yeah,
I wasn't there.
All right, sorry.
One day I'll have him on. But
well, if you want a crash course in how not to behave with law enforcement, but specifically game wardens, go ahead and watch any of those warden shows that they have out there, like Northwoods Law, and I think it's there's an Alaska one. I think there's like a Texas one.
There's some like YouTube channels that are just dedicated to that.
Yeah, so there's quite a few.
Of them.
But I mean, you could watch pretty much pick any episode, and chances are you're going to see at least one negative interaction where somebody tries to lie their way out of something or just plays dumb, and they usually end up getting cracked down on more because of the fact that they didn't just fess up.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you do screw up, whether intentional or not, just own it, because as we were saying with this digital age, you're probably not going to get away with it, because they could see, like what you said, they saw the time probably down to the minute when that lady bought that tag or that license that she didn't have. It's like, you're not going to get away with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
And I've definitely, especially this time of year, by the way, April 1st, I believe you need to buy your new fishing licenses. So
yep.
I have been, I was on the way. That was probably 2 years ago. I handed the first purchase Gentry ever did with a credit card was my fishing license.
Oh, that was more than 2 years ago. This was when I was like 10.
Yeah, that was a while
was like
ago.
the first time I had ever used a card.
Uh-huh.
Can I tell the story?
Yeah, go for it. Then I'm going to tell the story of the first time you purchased a pizza, which is hilarious. Anyways.
I don't remember what you're talking about, but I don't even remember what lake we were driving out to. I'm pretty sure we were going
Alkaline.
Pretty sure we were going east on the interstate.
We were.
And I was like 12 at the time or something. This was more than 2 years ago. And my dad just kind of, we were just leaving Bismarck, and he's like, you know what? I didn't buy my fishing license. And I was like, why does that matter? And he's like, well, it's midway through April or whatever.
No, it was April 1st. I know that to be
okay.
true.
Well, I'm pretty sure it expires on like the 28th of March. So you definitely had a couple-day window.
It's generally the 31st.
Yeah, it's the 31st.
All right.
28th that.
He definitely had more than like an hour or whatever. Well, I know the 20th is the last day of March. Anyways, he decided to have me do it because he was driving.
Mm-hmm. Responsible.
But his internet was terrible at the time. Like it took like 5 minutes just for me to like load a page on the website, and I'm pretty sure he like handed me the wrong card the first time or something. And that was my first time using a card, so I didn't know like what numbers to put where or anything. It took, all in all, it probably took like an hour to purchase this fishing license.
The good thing it's a long gravel road.
Right.
I don't remember where we were going.
Alkaline. It was definitely Alkaline.
Oh. What was your story with me and the pizza? I'll probably remember.
It was probably on the way back from Alkaline. I was starving. And I was like, granted, you never purchased anything over the phone. Kids and their apps nowadays.
I didn't even.
So
have
I was
phone
like,
at that time, I don't think.
Call this number. All you have to do is, we're the Cenex. It was the Cenex and Steel. Cenex and Steel. And
call
this number.
This now.
It was right to the Domino's or whatever they have there, and order a large pizza.
I think it was the Pizza
Yeah.
Hut inside the gas
He
station.
calls up and just like freezes. Like,
I remember this vividly.
Say something. Pizza. It was like, just hang up.
I remember was I picked up the phone. I didn't hear anything right away. That's why I didn't say anything. And then I remember my dad like yelling at me, "Say something, say something." And finally, I hear like the teenage worker on the other end of the phone be like, "This is Papa John's," and I was like, "Hi, do you guys have pizza?" And he was like, "Yup." And then I ordered the pizza, I think. And then I think he wanted to pay over the phone, and I got about halfway through, and then my dad just said, "Give up, we're paying for it when we get there."
Yeah.
That was a whole nother struggle.
It was.
But I learned a lot about debit and credit cards that day.
All I've been driving, so yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why we decided to order a whole pizza from Steel and not just
because I was starving.
The pieces,
are you kidding me? I think that's some of the hungriest I ever get. That's the best hunger pains you get when you're coming back and you haven't eaten all day.
The cold, it takes it out of you when you're out on the ice all day.
Or hunting too, you know. All that stuff.
Well, to get back to the question you asked that none of us answered.
Yeah. How do you deal with temptation? How do you resist when that little devil on your shoulder says, "Just put that fifth line in"?
I would say, I think for me, in simplest terms, I don't really struggle with it too much because it would ruin the accomplishment, essentially. Like if I was to be like that deer standing on the wrong side of the fence, but it's right there and it's huge, and I just want to, like, as great as it might be to have a deer like this imaginary one that's huge, you know, it would always be hanging over my head, even if nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't feel like I should have that deer, even if I would have waited 5 minutes and the thing would have hopped over the fence. You know what I mean? You never know. But I think that's the easiest way for me to put it, is like the accomplishment, the meaning behind like filling the tag and being successful. It's I think for me it has a lot to do with like the integrity of the process. You know, it being law abiding, it being fair chase. And I know that not everybody probably feels that way. So it might not be that helpful of a topic to discuss, but I would say that pretty much sums it up. I mean, I can't say that I've had a lot of moments of like, man, I really want to break the rules. But I mean, I never really had the option to, because I've always hunted with him, and he basically told me, working in the industries that he's worked in, he said, if we do anything wrong and anybody ever finds out, you know, like my career's over, basically. Mm-hmm.
It's a very good reason.
On top of the fact that it's just morally wrong. So it, you know, that was just always the case from when I was, as long as I can remember. So it really just kind of I got brainwashed as like, it's not an option, I guess.
Brainwashed in a good way.
Yes. Yeah. That most of the time I actually use that word. I would say it's in a good way. Yeah.
That's how you know it's right.
So,
how I look at it is, if I can't succeed doing something the right way, why do I deserve to do that thing at all? And I guess that's weird. That's weird for some people to think about. But like, if I can't legally kill a deer, or I have to do it like out of a truck or spotlighting or whatever it is, like, why do I deserve to take that animal in the first place? And another part of it is like the people that I hunt with, my friends. It's like you're gonna get called a dumb butt if you do something stupid, because we all want to hunt with each other, you know, later in the season, you know, 2 years down the road. And if you get your license taken for not having an upland license when you're pheasant hunting or something, like, it's just not a smart thing to do. Because obviously there's no point to it. Like, obviously technically you have to spend like the $5 or whatever, but if the $5 is of concern to you, you should not be hunting, you should be working. But that's a whole nother issue. I just don't, like, obviously some people see a point to it, like, oh, if you have, you know, 3 more lines in the water, you're going to catch X amount of, you know, X more fish or whatever it is. But a lot of this stuff, it's just, there's no point to it. Like, the laws are there for a reason. It's not to like restrict you. Like, the laws are not there to make hunting hard, because obviously it's super simple to kill, or I shouldn't say simple, but it's not difficult to kill a deer in this state comparatively to some other places. And the laws are not there to like restrict you or make it harder to kill a deer or a pheasant or a goose or catch a fish or whatever it is. But yeah,
I like the fact that you guys both brought up it taints the accomplishment, the memory, the whatever you have behind it, right? I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, when you look back on those things, it's like, how are you going to feel every time you look at you tell that story or you look at the mount on the wall?
Yeah, it's like wounding a deer or missing
I was
deer.
just thinking about that actually.
You get that. You just have like, there's a couple of stories that I'm sure I'll cover at some point that like just thinking about right now like leaves a pit in my stomach because I failed. But I don't really let it get to me because I know that like, number one, I can't go back and change it, and number two, in the moment I did what I thought was best. But that's the thing about breaking the rules is, even if you do succeed, you're still going to have that pit in your stomach, and it's going to be your own fault. You can't just, not that the misses weren't my fault, but like, you can't say that like, oh man, like I just stunk that day. Like, you have to take the accountability to say like, I made the wrong decision intentionally. It's one thing if you make a mistake and you do something that you didn't know was wrong, whether, you should read the regs and know your stuff, but like everybody screws up once in a while, but if it's a voluntary decision to do the wrong thing, then yeah, it's just, like you said, it's ruined at that point for me. And
I do want to put in a little caveat with like the idea of like being a hunting or a fishing perfectionist. That's like, cause we've talked about it, through the course of this so far, is like, don't put the outdoors above anything, whether that's family, God, whatever it is. Like, and that idea of trying to be perfect in the outdoors is what leads a lot of people to step away from their families or their, relationships with God or whatever it is, to pursue the outdoors at an unhealthy level. Like, if you are so concerned about being the perfect deer hunter or pheasants or catching the biggest fish, where you're out there, every day of your life, and missing important dates with your family or your job or, whatever it is, that's not healthy. And so I think there's definitely a part of hunting and fishing where you want to be, you want to be the one who kills the state record or, catches the biggest fish or whatever. But you do also have to take a step back and realize that at the end of the day, this is a hobby. It's not I guess for some people it's a job, and those people are extremely lucky. But for the large majority of people, it's a hobby. It's a fun thing to do. You enjoy it. It should not take over any other parts of your life to the point where you are idolizing it over a lot of other things.
Yeah, or sacrificing your morals.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's a good point. I like it.
Dad, you've been thinking over there for a while.
He's sleeping. He's tired.
Uh-huh. No, I've just been listening.
Drop some wisdom.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it'd be wisdom. It might be realism. So I can safely say that mistakes typically, the younger you are, the more likely you are to make mistakes. So it's kind of good to hear the two youngest guys in the room be like, I'm not gonna do any of this intentionally. I'm not gonna shoot over my limit on ducks or put extra lines out or anything like that. When I was really young, I don't know that I could say that I was so good at that. And there were some times, but obviously that changed as you mature and understand, at least for me, why we have regulations, why we set regulations, why we have permits, et cetera, and the importance of that and the management of the species, no matter what that species might be. It starts to become way more ingrained. And so, yeah, it's something I think develops. I think a lot of people make mistakes because who's going to know? One of the best ones I've ever heard is, I haven't fished at all this year. Let's say ice fished at all this year. So if I keep 20 walleye today, I'm good. what's the big deal? Because if I'd been fishing all those other days, then I would have caught those fish anyway. So it's okay if I keep them. Well, you're still breaking the law. The one part of realism that I would put into it, and especially for a waterfowl hunter, if somebody has waterfowl hunted a lot in their life and looks me straight in the eye and tells me they have not made a mistake,
oh, they're 100% lying, easily.
They are lying because, you know, you can shoot one hen mallard. And you already got your hen mallard in the bag, pair comes in, drake's in the front, pull up on the drake and smoke the hen in the back, right? It's going to happen. You're going to misidentify birds, so on and so forth. But I think what you do at that point is what matters. You know, so if that duck is at the end of your limit or whatever, however you want to set it up, then that hunt's over, right? Whether you call Game and Fish and say that you harvested one hen mallard over your limit, etc., that's up to you, and that's something you have to deal with, but mistakes are going to get made. You know, I shot at a turkey a long time ago in a group, waited for one bird to step off to the side, and I shot that bird. Bird was 20 feet or more from any other birds. Started walking up to the bird and realized there's a second one flopping off to the side. 20 feet away. One pellet right in the head.
No kidding.
Right?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? I didn't do that intentionally. My intention was not to shoot two birds.
Mm-hmm.
The intention was to kill one bird and come back the next day and shoot my other bird, because you can only shoot one bird a day. And, I mean, things like that. There are going to be mistakes that happen. What I did in that situation is I validated both of my tags. I had killed both birds, right? So I validated, if you want to call it that, both tags. I put them over my shoulder. I walked up to the highway with them over my shoulder. I went home. I processed the birds. My season was over.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did in that situation. You know, it's hard for me to believe that anybody that has hunted a lot in their time hasn't made a mistake. And that is, in my opinion, doesn't make it right. The game warden approaches me and says, "Why do you have two turkeys?" I'm going to be like, "This is what happened." I'm going to get a ticket.
Yeah. The truth.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's what happened. And
that was a situation where you can't shoot more than one in a day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
okay.
can only shoot one bird in a given day.
I was going to say, because you have two tags, there are places where that's fine.
Yeah.
But there's places like here. But there's other places where you can't take both tags, can't fill both tags in a day.
Yeah, in that state, you know. And so the reality of it is that I don't think there's anybody sitting here, at least, and I think the vast majority of outdoorsmen, hunters, fishermen, etc., they are doing it right. But mistakes happen too.
Mm-hmm.
My brother, this is probably the best one. Like this he's in a wheelchair. Okay, he got hurt in a logging accident a long time ago. He drew a moose tag in New Hampshire, harvested moose, right? That's pretty awesome. You know, he's not handicapped. He's inconvenienced, to be honest with you. Everybody calls him Superman. Anyway, so you have to wait 3 years before you can apply again. Waits 3 years, applies, makes a mistake on the unit that he put in for because he wanted to be in the northern part of the state where he lives, and actually drew a tag in the central southern part of the state. I don't even remember exactly where it was, but he was like, I'm not even going to go. You know, it's just, I don't, it's a cow. I don't really want to go. I don't want to go. I don't know anything about that area, et cetera. And I believe the game wardens, the local game warden got in touch with the game warden where he drew the tag, said, come on, I got it all set up for you. We got a place for you, easy to get to. You can drive your four-wheeler in. There's moose there, et cetera, et cetera. He goes down there. They unload their four-wheelers. Game warden drives my brother and my nephew back into this clear cut. Says, the moose been feeding down here, and so they set up on the logging road. And I believe the game warden was like loading his ATV back at the road. Pow. Right? Well, my brother, a cow moose, there was a lip and a cow moose came up. Or actually my nephew, he because either one of them, you have a sub permittee, I think is what they call it in New Hampshire. So either one of you can shoot
so it's party hunting kind of thing.
Yeah, either one of you can shoot the moose, but you can't be more than,
And you can't shoot two
talking
moose.
distance. You can't shoot two moose, et cetera. So I think my brother was like, yeah, Todd, go ahead and shoot it. So he shoots, and they thought that he had missed. And so, granted, now the game warden's only been gone like 15 or 20 minutes, right? And so there's a cow standing there again. So my brother shoots. Game warden comes driving in, right? There's like, really? That's that fast? And there's like, yeah, it's down over this lip. So they work their way down through the clear cut, get over the lip.
Two moose?
Two dead moose.
Oh, man.
Kill them both. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, they didn't intentionally kill two moose. Why on earth would anybody even remotely think of killing two moose
when you're taken there by a game
when
warden?
the game warden took you there and he's still at the truck?
Yeah.
Because they apparently the moose immediately came out. And so, my brother was like, yeah, I mean, it's my fault. I shot the second one.
Yeah.
It's on me. And so, the game warden was great. He's like, you choose the moose that you want to take, and my brother ended up losing his license for a year, all privileges for a year, but it was like, and paid a fine, but it was like, what am I going to do? It was my choice. We could have drove down there and checked and seen, but mistakes are going to happen. They're not all going to be that crazy, but mistakes are going to happen, especially with waterfowl hunting. I've probably seen the most mistakes waterfowl hunting.
It's definitely because there's obviously the limit part of it. Every state's different, and then
species.
Yeah, species identifying in the air is a hard thing for a lot of people, and then interstate. Because a lot of people they'll travel like 3 states down and just follow the migration. Each state has different sort of rules and laws for it regarding the limits and the amount of hens you can take and the species limits. There's definitely a lot more at risk, or not at risk, I should say, but there's a lot more to mess up compared to like deer hunting, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, go back on the eastern seaboard where you can shoot one black duck.
Yeah,
which are pretty hard to identify if you don't really know what you're doing.
Especially compared to a mallard hen, they look virtually identical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so low light conditions.
Mm-hmm. In mornings, evenings, yeah.
So if you're hunting right at first light and you don't have sun or anything like that, and you shoot a bird, maybe you thought it was mallard, and it's a black duck. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Setting the gun beside me, and I'm not doing anything because if it's a mallard-looking bird, I'm not shooting at it. Type of thing, right? So, but it still happens, and I mean, I think that's. I guess listening to you guys, I wanted to put the realism in because it is all roses and sunshine to say, hey, we don't break the law.
I've made mistakes. I'm not gonna act like I haven't. I've shot a hen pheasant before.
Right, but I mean, for the listeners, it's got to be. Look, it's going to happen. It's what you do with that mistake that matters.
Correct.
You shoot an extra turkey or pheasant by mistake. It's totally a mistake, and you bury it, throw it in the ditch.
One waste. You're making it worse.
I mean, to me, that's making it worse because there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
You made a mistake. Own the mistake. At least take care of the game.
Yep.
Yeah, that's no better than lying to the game warden.
In my opinion, it's not.
Oh yeah.
No.
You know, and so I guess that's where I would that's been my thoughts thinking about this as you guys were talking, is that, you know, it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. But the vast majority of hunters out there and fishers and anglers, they are trying to do it right all the time. They have their permits. And speaking of permits, here's something I don't understand.
All right.
Why on earth, if you hunt and fish a lot, isn't your hunting license in your wallet if you carry your wallet all the time? Because I know people, it's in my truck.
Yeah.
Crap, I left it in the truck. Or I take it and I put it, you know, on the shelf or on the counter at home when I got home, etc. When deer season comes around or turkey season, those tags go in my wallet.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about whether I have my tags or not, or my licenses.
I don't carry my deer tag with me, but my combination, my base license, that's always in my wallet all the time.
Yeah, so then you would have had your fishing license.
I did, but I didn't have my wallet.
His wallet was in the truck
because
that
your
was
truck
where
was
my
20
bins-
feet away.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Anyways.
All right. Well, I run into that because,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, Pastor Kurt was here and I think he mentioned it the first time I ever took him turkey hunting.
Oh yeah.
He forgot his tag,
Yeah.
you know, and we're 45 minutes away and it's like, sorry, your gun's staying in the truck and you get to watch today. You
Yeah.
know?
When you
And then
make those
every
mistakes,
time he gets in the car, got your tags?
you only got to make that mistake once. It's just like forgetting your boots.
Oh, no, he made it twice 'cause
when you're
we
going
had-
I've done
hunting.
that. I've done that at the tail race. I've never done that. hunting.
I have. I don't. Yes. I forgot augers. I forgot boots. You know, all those things when you're leaving the house. It's like
All right, Dad.
I just
through
forget
everything.
my binoculars.
All right.
Yeah.
That drives me insane.
Yes,
Because-
that's a tough one.
Because I mentioned the hen pheasants and you raised your hand.
oh geez.
Can you tell the hen boy story, please?
Yeah, I'm not any this will be I'm probably the bravest and dumbest human being in the world. So the first time I met my any of my in-laws, this is when my wife Brielle and we weren't even engaged at the time. I was a ripe young lad of I don't know. I was 20.
Dating in
Right.
college.
Yeah, I wasn't 21. And so my sister-in-law invites me to go back, and this is actually a pretty cool event where my mother-in-law. Well, again, we were engaged, or whatever. So there's first time I met my father-in-law, and then the in-laws. There was probably 6 uncles. I would say. Again, we were not married at the time. So I've never been to this place before. Never hunted with any of these people before, and I'm just dating this gal. And to say the least, like my nerves were a little bit on edge, right? So I'm going out and this is when like the pheasant population down in the Flasher area in the early 2000s was unbelievable. Like I don't know that I hope and pray that the Gentry gets to see that what it was like. You didn't have to try. I mean, there were birds everywhere, and I'd never seen anything like this before. You know, like I'd grown up and there was lots of birds. Anyhow, I'm making excuses. So we walk into this.
It doesn't want
Just
to
get to
worry.
We get into this in the first 5 minutes of the day. Well, first as we're walking, and all of a sudden one of our uncles pulls up. We're in like waist to knee high grass. Pulls up right in front of, boom, shoots a skunk. Just blows it open. And if you've ever been near a skunk, it's like tear gas. Immediately everybody's like, ugh, ugh, and like get out of the way. And so that happened, and I'm like, geez, this is crazy. So we come over this hill, and this covey of probably 30 pheasants get up, and I flock shot. I didn't pick one out. I just shot, and I see a bird fall, and I'm like, oh no. As soon as it hit the ground, I knew it was like. And they all go running over there and they're like, who shot it? And I was like, I did. And so I shoot this. It was a hen pheasant, right? So they're giving me a hard time the whole time. And then we were hunting this. There was this like same day after lunch we go and we're hunting this. It's like this. It's like it's not a food plot, but it's a strip of corn my father-in-law left up. And again, we're married at the time, whatever. So I turn around and and this bird looks just like a grouse, like locked up, the wings curled, flying in right at me. Sweet shot, just boom, dropped it. Get up to it. It's got no feathers on its legs, and I'm like, I never in my life shot a hen before. Pretty sure, 2 in one day. And from then on, I was hen boy. Still am in the family. So, yeah, mistakes happen. I thank you for keeping this real and keeping this honest. You're gonna do hard things, right? And you're gonna, when you have to make those split second decisions. Not that you should. You should take that extra moment to validate and see. Don't flock shoot. Know what you're shooting at. Identify it. Do it the right way.
Well, it comes down to when in doubt, don't.
Yeah, don't. Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like, I remember that big buck that we were tracking in the snow.
Vaguely. I don't know. It happened a few times.
He was bedded behind that down tree. Doe gets up. Buck gets up.
Yes,
he's running up the hill.
Giant. Yes.
I'm waiting for him to shoot. I'm like, kill him. And when I glanced at him, and like his gun wasn't to his shoulder.
40 yards away, mind you, just for context.
So I swing on the deer, and as he comes into the, his chest comes into the scope, he skylines.
Yep.
And I pulled off him.
Yeah.
Right. And now this is, at that time, biggest whitetail we had seen. And I mean, this
I think it probably still is, other than maybe the one that I saw this past year.
But I mean, that's the whole when in doubt, right?
Yeah.
And it comes a little bit with experience, and it also, you just, like, I don't know how many times I pulled off birds because I wasn't sure, like ducks.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why everybody yells, right? I mean, like, they're locked up. If it's ducks, they're dropping in.
Yeah.
And if you guys are at your hen limit or close or whatever, it's like, or you're saying, you're shooting this time, Gentry, right?
Yeah.
you still got a hen left, you go right ahead and shoot. Or hen gets up in the pheasant field.
Rooster. Yeah, or you call the hen. Yeah.
Somebody,
sorry.
Hen boy.
Yes.
Hen boy.
Yeah.
That's why. Yeah. Hen does not mean rooster.
Yeah. Hen does not mean rooster. Yes. Hen. Yes. Yeah.
Everybody starts yelling hen, right? Or rooster, because you don't know what everybody's perspective is, right? Or, I mean, I don't know that I've seen people want to kill like a hen turkey or something during the spring. I don't think I've ever experienced that, where they thought, it was a tom or something like that. I'm to the point where even if I can't see the beard, because it has to have a visible beard, right, to be legal, and when they're strutting, sometimes the beard's not visible, and so it's like, I mean, I don't shoot jakes anymore, but if you can't see the beard, don't shoot.
Yeah.
Type of thing. I mean, I think you just have to have some common sense and try to do the best you can, and you're still gonna probably make mistakes eventually if you do this enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, in order to avoid mistakes, you're gonna have to suck it up sometimes, like that deer that you were talking about. I got a video that's almost ready to go up from this past deer season, but I had an interaction with a deer for more than half of a day, and he wasn't a giant by any means, but he was bigger than the one I ended up shooting, and he came up over the skyline and bedded right on the skyline, and he was at like 400 yards, so I wasn't going to shoot anyway. But over the course of the next, 20 minutes, he was following a doe. He was injured, limping on his front leg, but he was following a doe, and he kept walking, bedding, and like 95% of the time he was directly on the skyline. Like it was just one of those times there was so much room for him to be anywhere else, but he just happened to be. And I had a couple like really quick opportunities where I could have taken like a 350-yard shot that wasn't a great positioning for the deer, and because he was below the skyline, but I was just waiting for that better shot, and then he'd skyline again. And then when he came off the skyline, he literally ran down the hill coming straight at me, running at 275 yards, And I was just like, I'm not going to take that shot. And looking back, if I was really keyed in, like I probably could have made a shot. I don't regret not taking the shot, but it stung like at the time because I was like, man, like, but I got through it because I knew like I did the right thing. You know what I mean? Like not only is it take your shots, the ones that you're comfortable with, but also don't take those shots that are questionably ethical or just straight up unethical. You know, that deer's the skyline, it's a little in front of the skyline runs right across the middle of its body, and you're like, oh, I could do whatever. That's one of those shots that's like, it's marginal, so probably don't go there. You know what I mean? Because if you miss high, it might as well be a skyline shot. Like
Did we ever explain why?
I was gonna say, I don't know that we had. For those newer.
Yeah, basically it's just you don't know what's behind the animal or over the hill. You could be sending a bullet into some kind of sensitive area, whether it's a person or a building or cows, if you're, around a cattle ranch or whatever, something like that. You just don't know. And even if you do know, you don't know because you can't actively see. So like if you're familiar with a property, you're like, I know there's no cattle in that pasture. It's private land. There shouldn't be anybody else out hunting here. That doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
Because, the bullet of a high-powered rifle, depending on the rifle, can travel miles. I mean, you hear about these military snipers that are taking shots at 2,000 plus meters intentionally.
Yeah.
So imagine what a bullet can do if you're shooting at an upward angle over a skyline. I mean, that bullet can go for literally miles.
Yep.
So even if you're on 20,000 acres and you've got it all figured out, and like that still doesn't make it okay because you don't know where that bullet's going to end up. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's one of the more, in my opinion, straightforward ethical rules in hunting. So.
If you can't see what's beyond your target, don't take the shot.
Right, you have to know your target, but you also have to know that bullet's going in a safe direction, beyond the target. Because you could miss, because the bullet could pass through, and it's not just bullets. I should say it's the same thing with archery.
Yeah.
If you're hunting with a muzzleloader or a shotgun with slugs, or or even with pellets, like you still got to know. You still have to know. So.
Yeah, I was trying to remember from hunter safety
the ballistics of
how far can a 22 bullet travel.
I believe it's a mile.
No, I think we had this out at the farm. I think it's a 270 can go.
No, 22. Stick
22.
with a 22 rim fire.
I'm gonna go 500 yards.
I'm almost positive it's a mile because we have a chart in the shop at our farm.
Yeah, it's not.
I'll go 1,000.
1.5 miles.
Whoa!
Told you.
So think about that. That's
with the wind, but yes. Yeah.
That's a bullet that's this big, right? And it can travel 1.5 miles or more, right? So now, obviously, heavier ammo, heavier gravity's having an impact, etc. But doesn't matter. The whole point of it is this little tiny bullet can go 1.5 miles. Now, if you're shooting parallel to the ground, it's not going to go 1.5 miles, but it can travel if you were to skyline shooting at something on a skyline or something like that. They can ricochet.
Oh yeah,
all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a good point. Is when in doubt, don't.
Yeah, and it's gonna hurt. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be annoying, but sometimes you have to pay that price in order to do the right thing, and that's not just hunting. I mean, that's life in general. I don't believe in karma, but I think that there is, what goes around comes around. Like God will reward you, whether or not it's in a way that you see it as a reward or not, or whether it's a reward here on earth or a spiritual reward once you've gone by. Like you never really know. But those things, I believe those things do add up, whether that's in a positive or a negative direction. That's not to say that you can't be forgiven, as we've talked about before. But you also have to go get that, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago. And kind of leads me into one more thing I wanted to mention about having, reasons not to do the wrong thing when you are tempted. And I think I might have mentioned it before again, but something that I struggled with growing up in, young adulthood has been up until the past couple of years has been like, what's the benefit of doing the right thing? Like, even if it's outside of the law, right? Like, you don't want to get in trouble with the law. That's pretty self-explanatory. But in terms of faith, like sin, a lot of sins are not breaking the law. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
our legal system, although it is originally structured off of, Christian values,
Absolutely.
it doesn't follow those values to a T. So I think that it's easy to, in any place in your life, but as a Christian as well, it's easy to get to a point where it's like, my faith, a lot of people say faith alone, right? And my faith alone is going to save me, is going to, and that it creates this dilemma where it's like, at least for me, was like, what's the value of actually doing good things? What's the value of being a good person other than like, I feel good about myself or I help somebody, like in terms of spiritually, like long term, is it just gonna be like, well, you're in heaven, but you don't get the front seats because you weren't as good, And I just never really understood that. And because it just seemed like this automatic kind of like, you're good as long as you believe. And I don't think that I still would say that belief is the number one thing, of course. But there's this discussion about faith versus works, and I think that both of them are very important, because whether or not you believe that works are important to salvation, it says it in the Bible that they are. Like Jesus
Amen.
says about baptism, you need to get baptized to go to heaven. I'm paraphrasing, but he says that. Like you need to do this. You need to be washed, and that's important. And he says, like I mentioned in John 6 a while back, you have to receive the body and blood, my flesh and blood, in order to be with me in heaven. Like, these are works. Like, I always thought works was, like being a good person, doing good deeds. But works in the Christian, or maybe Catholic would be a better word, sense, is that it is these things that we refer to as sacraments that are important, that get you closer to God, because they're things that he's asked of us. Like, one of them is marriage. That is a work. That's one of these works that helps you reach salvation. And it's not to say that you get married and you're good, but like, that's a vocation, right? If you're not in the religious life, or you are in the religious life, like, in a position where you can be married, whatever denomination or church you're in, like, that marriage is getting you closer to God, and that's helping you, because that is something that he created for us. I mean, that was with Adam and Eve. That was right away. So my point being, I think it's really important to have some kind of tether like that to say, this is why, for me, spiritually, I need to do the right thing. And that sin will add up, and you do have to repent. You do have to say, like, I don't remember the verse, but there's a verse that says, confess your sins to your brother.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you take that to mean, I believe that it means, going to a priest and confessing your sins. And that was something that I always thought was like, they're just trying to make me feel bad about myself, But that's something I've learned has been very beneficial for me, because I go in and I share those things that otherwise in the past I had just kept to myself. And I always continue to feel bad about things that had happened a long, long time ago. But when I go through that process of like actively out loud confessing and saying, this is what I've done wrong in the eyes of God, I come out of there and I'm like, I'm good now. Like, I've done what I was asked to do in the literal sense. And so that's something that really motivates me to do the right thing, is not only like, oh no, I've done something wrong, but also like, I don't want to have to confess. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
I don't want to
right.
have to go out and say, because I think there's some value in that shame of like confessing to your brother. Like, it's supposed to hurt
Correct.
because you did something wrong. Whether that's, whatever you interpret that to be, that's my interpretation. But that's something that's been huge for me in terms of like facing temptation and saying, I'm not going to do the wrong thing because I know what the consequences are if I do. Like, I either have to go fix it myself out loud, like I have to face it, or it's going to affect me eternally.
Repent from that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in having a spiritual brother that you can go to, somebody you can trust and be like, hey man, I screwed up, I did something stupid. I think that there's a level of, and that's biblical, to confess your sins to your brothers, as well as to to hold yourself accountable. Like, there should be a check, like, man, if I do this thing and then then I got to confess to this, I'm probably not going to do it, versus, that's a tool of the enemy, right? Like Satan will get you to, you go back to the Garden of Eden, twist one thing, that's okay, just do this one thing. And then you do it, and then you have that condemnation that's on you. Look, you're a failure. You're a loser. You're no good. And if you can get that long enough, and that weight and that guilt on you, then you start believing more lies and more evil. Where we have been afforded grace, right? And we can't buy it, we can't purchase it, but the Bible also says you'll be known by your works, right? And your faith will be known by your works. So it's a weird kind of dichotomy, but you are not, and I don't believe you can't earn your way into heaven. That only comes through Christ, through the blood of Christ. But that doesn't mean that we just sit back and go, well, I can sin all I want, right?
But that confession is like a massive weight, just right off. I mean, whoever listens to this might be like, that guy just admitted to, like you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've told a lot of people about that.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Well, and having somebody, like you said, in your life that can be there for you for that. Like, my first confession, I sat across from the only priest I knew, and I don't really know many others, like, personally. He's a great dude, but I sat across from him and looked him in the eye, and as my first confession, like with the church, I basically told him everything that I had ever done that would be considered a sin that I could recall. And that was incredibly hard. Like, this guy knows me. I'm going to have, interactions with him in the future. Like, it's so hard to imagine that I can say these things to this person and he's going to look at me the same. Like, that was something that I really struggled with. But then I went through that experience. Like, there was no screen. It was not in a booth. Mm-hmm. I was sitting in an office with him in a chair, and he closed his eyes and he just listened to me go on and on and on, because I was 23 years old. And I mean, our relationship did not change in the slightest. Mm-hmm. And just seeing the power that moment had, and that's huge. And even if it is just talking to someone and telling somebody, like, where you can have that relationship with, like, that is a huge weight off your shoulders. And then, from my perspective, it goes into the forgiveness side of it, which there's scripture that I can go into on that. But the point is, like, whether it's a person, I would obviously highly recommend having a person, but also just using your faith, and the reality of our salvation as, like, you can't just, sit there and say, well, I've already got a free ride, because, it's like burying that hen pheasant. You may never get caught, on earth. But that's mm-hmm. God's going to know every single spot where those pheasants are. And his judgment is way more important than the game warden. That's Amen. Not to take away from what game wardens do. Mm-hmm. But his judgment is way more important. And even just internally, if you leave a path of those, to continue the analogy, buried hen pheasants, that's going to, like you said, that's going to affect you. That's going to bring you down in countless ways, because ultimately, like you said, sin leads to death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matt, you said something that I think is it's freeing when you confess that, but just like we had here, you're not the only one who's screwed up. We've all screwed up.
Right.
We've all sinned, and there's power in your confession to somebody else. Them going, well, Matt's a pretty awesome dude. He screwed up. I guess I can confess, and I can know that I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to essentially live a lie, right? And I think that's super important. Now you got to be careful the folks that you're confessing to, that needs to be a brother in Christ, right? That you don't just if you're telling your deepest darkest secrets to someone that's just going to go to the next person and go, look at that loser,
Right.
like that's you got to be careful there. But having someone that you can confide in is so important. And I don't mean to go there, but I appreciate you sharing that.
It's a huge weight, and we talk about hunting and fishing, and we can't, like, if you look at a lot of the shows that are out there, everything's roses and sunshine.
Yeah,
everything is perfect. There's a few that do a really good job, right? Of this is what's actually going on. Like sometimes when there's a show and they don't actually harvest something, I'm like, yeah, because that's real, but you also make mistakes. And so I don't want this to be like all fluffy roses and sunshine because we're perfect and we don't make mistakes and all this stuff. No, it's not the way life works.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, and for anybody listening that might feel like called to speak to somebody in that kind of confession sense, like in the Catholic context, I know that it sounds really intimidating and official. But like I've heard priests tell stories about they run into somebody in a gas station and they're wearing their vestments, like the white collar, and some kid behind a gas station counter will just be like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And right there in the gas station,
yep.
They'll do confession. Like it doesn't have to be. And my point is that if you feel that, like, I obviously am going to say a priest, but reach out, like, and going to somebody that's in the religious life is
super important.
Is a great start. But I know for a fact that any priest, any Catholic priest that you're going to come across would be happy to hear it, and I'm sure the same goes for
just about any
pastor. All the pastors here got a gazillion stories. The same, So
at New Song they do a lot of pastoral care, is what they call it, where it's that's basically what it is. You're just sitting down with somebody, whether it's and they'll do things from like, hey, I help me walk through this tough decision. Stuff from like
absolutely
jobs to I screwed up to how do I, marriage counseling to anyway, all the things. They're phenomenal. Pastor Travis is one of the main guys here, and he does a great job. So yeah, I would agree. Because that there's going to be a biblical grounding in their advice,
right,
and where they're taking you. Because talking to if I went to, maybe they're listening to it, so I feel bad, but if I went to some guys at work and being like, man, I struggle with whatever, I'm probably not going to get the same advice that I'm going to get from a pastor, right? And I mean, you got to, no matter what you take, it's my belief. That's why you got to filter it through the lens of Scripture to make sure that anything that you hear, you don't just take it on face value. Because I don't care who you are, we're all fallible, whether you're a pastor or
absolutely
or a layman. So, anyways,
yeah, and even if it's just somebody to listen, whether or not you need advice, and I know that's a big argument, at least between men and women. A lot of times, it's like, I just need somebody to listen.
Yeah.
I don't need somebody to give me advice. Like,
mm-hmm.
At least that that person, even though they have the ability to give you like spiritual advice, just say, I just need somebody to listen. Like, and you just tell them what's on your heart. You can have faith that 99% of the time they're not going to be going and sharing that, And I know that, and again, I keep going back to this, but I know that like the code with the Catholic confession is like the priests cannot even, like, even if you say you're going to, you've done some horrible thing that's wildly against the law, like they can't, it's against their code. They cannot go share that. Like that is completely under wraps. It cannot be shared. So that's just something that gives me confidence, is like, I know that this isn't going to become a point of gossip,
Yep.
So that's, I think, because that probably keeps a lot of people from those having those kind of interactions is that concern. So
yeah, trust is a real thing for sure.
It's fact of the week time.
Fact of the week time.
All right. So, question for the week is, I found two different answers that, like.
Oh, here we go.
No. Hey, Mr. 60 plus, you don't have any room to talk, okay? But
you just will not let that thing go, will you?
No, it's staying. But normally I do all these questions off Google, so like don't take any of these to heart. But I found two answers that consistently came up. The question is, what is the rarest cross between two puddle ducks? Like,
oh, come on.
Which one do you see the least on average?
I'm not even going to answer this.
The rarest
question.
hybrid?
Yep. Dad, do we all know all the puddle ducks? So you got your mallards, your pintails, your widgeon, your teals, blue and greens, and then you got your gadwalls, your woodies, and I think that's it. Yeah.
I feel like as you just said it like that, I'm going to say wood duck and a gadwall.
All right.
I'm gonna say pintail and wood duck.
Okay, I'll accept either answer because there's two.
You talking the most unlikely species to hybridize?
What I found was the one that's seen the least, so I would assume that correlates to the one that would hybridize the least.
Yeah, you'd hope.
Yeah, I'm going like wood duck and pintail type of thing.
All right, Dad, what'd you say?
Wood duck and whatever the last, I don't know.
Gadwall.
Gadwall. Mm-hmm.
The two answers were a mallard and a woody, and a gadwall and a widgeon.
Huh.
Interesting.
And these are off of Google, so these could very well be like wildly inaccurate.
This is just the Google AI. Like you didn't even scroll down.
No, I looked at websites.
Wikipedia?
Did not go on Wikipedia.
I was thinking about it from habitat and where they're going to be during breeding season and so on and so forth. So
because mallards cross over with just about everything.
Yeah, usually.
So
if I got posed the question, I would have definitely said wood duck somewhere in there, just because of the areas that they live or not. There's only certain types of ducks that,
I mean, there would be some crossover,
Yeah, I mean, there's
but
places
with
like
all of them during migration.
Yeah, I mean, they're all in those massive flocks, and they all
maybe
stop over in the same states.
Maybe it has something to do with like the breedability between the two, rather than just how often they actually breed.
Yeah.
Like if you could have a species pair that's breeding more than another, but for whatever reason, it's like less viable to actually produce like a fertilized egg that hatches for some genetic reason or something. I don't know. You know what I mean?
All I know is Dwayne Arnister's got 4 hybrids in his house that he's personally shot.
That doesn't surprise me. I don't remember them, but I don't know that I've ever actually been in his house.
Just even seeing one of those to me would be like
I can't imagine what a
pintail
thing. And a wood duck would look like. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
I feel
that's that's part of the reason I said it. Is I was like, they don't live in a lot of the same places, but also that'd be crazy to look at. Like,
I feel like
in courtship and stuff like that. That's why I was like, it's probably not.
I feel like when you see hybrids, at least a lot of like the pictures on whatever that I see, there's usually some pintail in them, like pintail widgeon or pintail mallard. I feel like are seen pretty much the most.
Sure.
Out of any of them, that's just I don't know.
Pintails get around, I guess.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
I guess so.
This is my least favorite one.
Oh, that one.
Well, it's on you to end the episode, so you can just wrap it up real quick and all your.
So you can just guess.
All your misery.
You just guess.
I wouldn't have been able to guess because when it comes to divers and puddle ducks and whatever. Anyways,
well, I
can appreciate all forms of hunting, and the spring's coming around, and it's the that's the exciting thing when the migration comes on. If you can't appreciate God's creation in the springtime migration, look harder because it's amazing.
The geese were funny 2 weeks ago because they were all for like 5 days hauling north.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then a week later,
let's get out of here.
They were sky high going back south. It was hilarious. And everybody's like, spring's here, all the waterfowl. And I'm like, nope, no ducks.
I'd be interested
ducks.
I'd be interested to see, unlike the telemetried birds, what the number of miles that they've flown, at least in the Central Flyway this year versus the average.
Yeah.
Because I bet you it's probably
crazy.
quite a bit higher.
Yeah.
Well, and snow geese
There's been so much jumping back and forth.
And snow geese are
wild swings.
Well, I guess I don't know if you consider it the worst, but they definitely are like they're usually the first to jump back, and a lot of the time, at least from like what I've seen, it's usually too early, and then you'll see flocks going back south, and then north again or whatever. But I'd say snow geese are definitely.
There were specks 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
going over the house, and I was like, "Wow, that's a fair weather bird," and they're going north. I'm like, wow, there either somebody made a really bad mistake in the decision there to go north, or.
All right, everybody. This might be the longest episode ever.
We just kind of keep getting longer.
Yeah.
If you look at that.
Really? All right. Well, appreciate everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. And this is probably the honestest,
most honest,
most realist we've been in a lot of these episodes. So appreciate it. Hopefully you're all enjoying this, and have a good one.
I like the way.